Blimey. This is one out of a jam jar you got here.
Warning. The House of Mystery contains demons, angels, elementals, magicians, wizards, apparitions, adult language, and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not enter the House of Mystery.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, welcome everyone to the House of Mystery, the John Constantine and Friends podcast. I am your curator and tour guide through the House of Horrors. And along with me is my compadre, my swamp thing, if you will, David. Hello, Dave.
How's it going, everyone?
But you've never told me to fuck off, though.
No. But that was pretty epic.
Yeah. Is this the first time Swamp Thing dropped an F-bomb?
An F-bomb? Yeah.
I love it.
I love it, too, because it's kind of like... Tom Taylor knows how to write these characters.
Yeah.
He understands them, and when a character acts out of line, it's like... He knows how to use those moments to really sharpen his storytelling.
Yeah. Oh, I like how we're just jumping right into it. There's no lube this week. We're just going in raw. And if it hurts a little bit, I apologize.
Hey, remember, at least we're not like Plastic Man.
Going all inside of orifices. What if, like, Zatanna was penetrated from below? Like, I'm like, oh, come on.
That's
too much. Is that going too far?
Well, she is going to turn into an anti-life zombie, so it might not be a bad thing.
Oh. Yeah, so if you can't tell, we are going to be continuing our discussion on DCeased, Dead Planet, the sequel series to one of the largest, biggest, mostest, we'll use all types of made-up words, selling comic books of 2019. That's right, Tom Taylor's DCeased, Dead Planet.
One of the biggest surprises, I would say arguably the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Biggest surprise.
And we're going to be talking issue number 2. And I have to say, the way this issue opened up, it's fucking savage. Tom Taylor does things, I feel like, just to get a laugh out of himself. Like, no one else is laughing, Tom. We're crying.
We're crying.
I mean, when they have that setup for this introduction this week, or in this issue, I should say, and they're laying it on thick. Sometimes you need a hero. And then there's those times that you don't. And Rory, after telling this poor child that he will not allow anything to happen to her, he gets blown up.
Yes.
Lit on fire right before her eyes. I was laughing my ass off. Because dude, Tom Taylor is probably giggling as he's writing this.
Yes. Because there is something about the way Tom Taylor has been writing this story of DCeased has been so refreshing because he doubles down on the element of there's no hope. Well, everyone loses hope.
Right. And I think I like that because there is a method to the madness, but essentially I don't see a lot of comic book sites in their discussions and reviews saying this, but this is essentially a satire.
Yes, it is.
It reminds me of some of the great exploitation films of the 60s and 70s, where many of them were a little tongue-in-cheek, wink, wink, making people kind of chuckle and laugh. I mean, one that comes to my mind that's more recent is that one with... Oh, shit. What's his name, David?
There's a lot.
Paul Giamatti plays the bad guy.
Shoot 'em up?
Shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
That thing is so over the top, most people would go in expecting an action piece. And it is. But when it's all said and done, it's a satire. And that's what I feel like DCeased Dead Planet is.
Well, the thing is, this feels like it's an actual homage to those old zombie films from the 70s.
Which were also satirical.
Satirical.
Yeah.
They were absolutely satirical. Look at Dawn of the Dead. Look at Night of the Living Dead. There's there's a message that's being sent that's sent by the writer, and Tom Taylor knows what he's doing, and he's doing things in a zombie quote unquote superhero comic that no one, including the opposition in Marvel, refuses to do when it comes to zombies. They try to just, a lot of times in comics, they just downplay the zombie as like this shambling, I'm going to eat brains type of creature, right? Tom Taylor says, yeah, they are that. That is the anti-life equation zombies. However, they still retain. He really brings up a valid point of how if a superhero gets turned into a zombie, they don't lose their powers. They could still use their powers.
Right. It's one of the most horrific things that can happen.
And
I mean, when you think about it, or you don't have to think about it, read the issues and you see just how all-powerful these zombies actually are. And this one, I haven't found the sequel to be filled with substance. That's not a negative. This one I feel is more fun. You're having a good time.
Yeah.
With the original run, we had discussed on the Patreon exclusive show, Comic Book Chaos, we had discussed how at the heart of DCeased, there's also a message. There's a dissection of social issues pertaining to technology and social media.
Yes.
So Tom Taylor likes to have his fun. He likes to put in those satirical moments, but at its core, the foundation is built on relative. I guess you can say relatively on some substance.
Relatively.
Right?
I mean, we're only 2 issues in on the series, the sequel series. So
we'll see, right?
We'll see, because the difference between this and the first series, DCeased, he had to establish the theme right away.
Right.
With the sequel, I felt like he doesn't necessarily have to reiterate the message. Now he can just flesh everything out.
Right. You can build on
it.
What you've already started.
Yeah.
I agree.
And the whole concept of basically, I like the fact that one moment in the comic when Dr. Fate looks at it and after Cyborg, who's just ahead, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Basically tells them that the cure is supposedly in me, and Dr. Fate says, we now have science and we now have magic. So there's hope.
Right. And then Harley Quinn's all like, but what part of you? Because your body's split into.
I know. That was awesome.
This is why I'm saying this is a satire, because there are so many moments where Tom finds the right moments to sprinkle a little bit of comedy within the horror.
Yes.
Because if this was just a gory piece, I'm not really into gore without some type of substance or even some satire. And Tom is finding a way to balance it all out, which has been fun so far. And you're right, issue 2, there isn't a lot to go on in terms of what he's trying to say. But as we had spent almost an hour on the first issue, we had just focused on Constantine. And we were able to bring together close to 45, 50 minutes of a discussion point on the nuances of John Constantine.
Yeah.
And he continues that in this issue. We get more Constantine. And I have to say, during dark times, the world doesn't need a hero. It needs a cunt. Is that
was
what
awesome.
Is that what he was saying?
Yes.
Because it's censored.
Yeah.
And I ran through a list of words. And when you see Constantine in that panel, you're like, it's got to be, you need a cunt.
You need a cunt.
Yeah, you need yeah.
And that's what Constantine is. He's a cunt.
I love it. It's so good. And the Shadow Pack, Dave, this has to be a thing. And I know at the end of issue 2, it looks like they've been killed.
Well, here's the thing. I thought bringing the Shadow Pack really shows that Tom Taylor does know the DC universe.
Or do you think he's setting himself up for another prequel spinoff where we find out what happened during those 5 years while they were rescuing people?
See, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Dude, it seems like he's setting himself up for another miniseries.
Yeah, but like bringing in the Shadow Pack actually has some really cool connections to DC history. For like hardcore DC fans who know Shadow Pack, the whole concept of that group is the Shadow Pact is basically kind of like a group of magic characters in DC that are brought together to fight a lost cause. That's the whole point.
Is that what makes them different from, say, Justice League Dark?
Yeah, they're essentially kind of like if
Are they the Suicide Squad
they're,
of the
they're
magic?
like of magic. Yeah, but basically they're brought in to fight lost causes. So like, say for example, when they first got introduced, and I made sure to actually look at the research and double check the story that I remember. The Shadow Pact is actually introduced when they have to, a group of characters have to be brought together to fight the Spectre, because the Spectre goes crazy and wants to kill all magic everywhere.
Okay.
So fighting the Spectre is a lost cause. Everyone knows that. He's the spirit of vengeance. He can glare at you and basically melt you. He's a deity.
Mm-hmm.
He's essentially God. So bringing a bunch of what the magic forces do is they bring characters together that they basically say, you guys have been chosen by magic itself to fight this lost cause. And when Tom Taylor brings the Shadow Pact into DCeased, I'm like, that's fucking gold.
Well,
that's
we
perfect.
need a comic book run of the Shadow Pact, Dave, because you
yeah.
have essentially the team up is Red Hood,
Yes.
John Constantine, Zatanna, Detective Chimp,
Blue Demon,
Ragman,
and
Slade's daughter,
and Swamp Thing.
Rose. What's her name? Rose
Wilson.
Yeah, Rose Wilson.
Or the Ravenger.
Dude, that group right there, we can tell some pretty fucking great stories.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like we have just barely, not even scraped the tip of the iceberg here with this group. And to see them all essentially perish, well,
Yeah.
80% of them perish.
80% of them
at
perish.
the end of this issue. I'm hoping they're not dead because
And
I feel like it's way too soon. We're issue number 2. You introduce the Shadow Pact in this epic, over-the-top, blockbuster film type of way, just to have them all die at the end of the
Yes.
very issue you introduced them in. I can't imagine that being the case.
And I want to apologize because I kind of cursed poor Zatanna.
Yeah, I know, because during our last discussion, you're like, Zatanna's going to die. I'm like, you fucking watch your dirty fucking mouth. How dare
And I'm
you?
like,
Listen, Tom Taylor, you can kill everybody, but don't you ever put your dirty mitts on Zatanna again.
And then what does he do? He makes Plastic Man enter every orifice of her and just come out of her eyes and mouth.
Jesus Christ.
The most epic way to die.
Yeah.
And I was like going, and I like that he actually used that moment to kind of really bring the universe together. This is a world that has no hope. It's a
So
lost
it makes
cause.
sense. It's a
It makes
group that
sense.
actually makes sense.
And like
Yeah.
seeing him also double down on like what you were saying in the very beginning, you open up and you see Rory get just blasted and then like vaporized just like that.
Yeah.
Because, and like I was saying, showing that basically the superheroes still have powers, and if you zombify them, how much more deadlier they can become.
Right.
And then you get to the end, and me and you and Paul have talked about it in like death metal and everything else. The fact that Plastic Man is one of the most underrated superheroes that could kill anybody. He can kill Superman. Me and Paul have discussed about this.
And leave it up to Tom Taylor to turn him into a giant
Turn it into a
liquid.
liquid zombie.
Yeah.
I'm like going genius.
Yeah.
Because
it's definitely interesting.
It shows that basically you take these heroes, you turn them into zombies, and they just become monsters.
Right.
Absolute
But I
monsters.
just hope at the end of the day there's something more than just to, hey guys, it's a giant plastic man. Yes, it's cool, but what does it all lead to? And that's why I'm hoping we get to that, because I do like the setup. I do like the poetic aspect of the Shadow Pact being essentially the group of lost hope. Is that what it was, David?
Yeah.
And, I mean, you have John Constantine at the center of that crew. I mean, he is the king of Lost Hope. And the fact that he is the ringleader of a group affiliated with the idea of Lost Hope is just so on point, and yet again shows us that Tom Taylor pretty much understands the finer details of John Constantine and what makes him tick. And to double down on that idea, you now introduce the element of Swamp Thing.
Yes.
And this is what really got me very interested in what Tom Taylor was working on, because now you have the aspect of the green. How is it going to work or conflict with the anti-life equation? Is there going to be something a little more intelligent being stated here? As we know, Tom does express certain ideas in terms of societal messages, right?
Yes.
So what will he say, if anything, pertaining to the life equation and the contrast of the green?
Well, not just the contrast of the green, it's the way that Swamp Thing showed up, and he told Constantine there's 2 gardens.
Right.
One is the one that's headed by Poison Ivy in Gotham, which is peaceful and it's flourishing and everything else. But then there's a second garden that's screaming. And that's what Swamp Thing is really disturbed by.
Well, so disturbed that he dropped his first F-bomb in order to
on
get...
Constantine.
I just love that he did a Constantine on a Constantine.
Yes.
In order to get his attention, he had to say, "Shut the fuck up, John."
And then, like...
Well, he didn't say John. He said Constantine.
Constantine.
But I love it because it shows the fact that you're able to rile up Swamp Thing in that way. It conveys a sense of urgency to the reader.
Yes.
Because we get a moment that is, for the most part, out of character for Swamp Thing, and for them to all draw attention to it, to where everyone that's a part of the Shadow Pact stops what they're doing and like, did he just...
Yes. And I love that when they basically, but on top of that, Constantine doesn't miss a beat and says, "Yeah, he just did, and I'm pretty proud of that."
Yeah, he doesn't care that he just, flipped on him. I was like, "Yeah, I'm proud of you. Good job.
Good job.
What do you need now, buddy?"
And I was like cracking up because I'm like, this is why I have faith in Tom Taylor when it comes to Constantine.
Well, I'm getting more and more excited for his Hellblazer run.
Yeah, because he understands that character. Like, he knows that basically this is John Constantine. This is how he would literally act in any comic. And that gives me a lot of hope, just like what you said, for that series that's coming out for him for Hellblazer.
I agree, man. I'm getting very excited to see what he's going to be doing with that series, because he seems to be able to have fun.
Yeah.
He also has a sense of humor, and if he understands the nuances of Constantine, then hey, let's get to this story soon.
Although I have to say, with something that me and you discussed prior to actually starting recording, I would love to see Tom Taylor team up Swamp Thing and John Constantine in his run of Constantine, because I think his writing of them as a duo would be awesome.
It'd be good,
because he understands, just by simply that panel showing that relationship between John and Swamp Thing, he understands how that relationship works. There is a friendship there.
Well, also, the thing that I do like, keeping it to DCeased here, Dead Planet, I do appreciate the fact that when you have a character like Constantine and Zatanna, there are certain elements, archetypal situations that you have to introduce, or at least bring into your run, right? You're not going to have John Constantine a part of a series unless there's a supernatural element, a supernatural threat. Otherwise, it just feels insincere to the characters. There's no point. It's the reason why I wasn't the biggest fan of the recent Justice League Dark animation, because there was no supernatural element.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this isn't really a John Constantine story. This isn't really Justice League Dark. What are we doing here?
It was more a Justice League
right.
type of storytelling.
And that's what I was looking for in this issue. I'm like, okay, so in issue 1, you introduced us to John Constantine and what he's been up to emotionally, mentally for the last 5 years. All right, we understand where his mind is at. Mm-hmm. Now in issue 2, they give us what he has been up to over those 5 years. He hasn't just been simply sulking in a bar. He has been actually helping people, trying to rescue as many people as he can. So that's what we learn about Constantine in this issue. But now we have that nagging need to justify why he's here. Where's the supernatural element? And sure enough, in issue 2 here, towards the end, when they go to the second garden that Swamp Thing is cut off from, There's elements of hellfire that's blocking this bunker with humans that are essentially filled with some good people, but a lot of evil souls, according to Ragman. You also get the idea that these individuals are, whoever is in this bunker is far more evil than even the undead themselves.
Yes, that they're a greater evil.
And because you have the idea of hellfire and evilness that's lurking within this bunker, suddenly the supernatural element has reared its head. You're like, okay, well now not only are we getting some good Constantine, but now we're getting something that, in my opinion, has to be a part of a John Constantine story. It has to.
It has to. I mean, like, and there's so many things now that they can draw on when it comes to the villains of the Mystic Universe in DC that would just be perfect for Constantine. I'm really excited. That's what got me hooked at the very end. The thing that I love about what Tom Taylor does is, especially with the second series of DCeased, he is doing something that a lot of DC writers have tried to do: mix magic with superheroism, or the superhero element, right? You mix it with the Justice League and actually blend them together to actually make a very cohesive story. Tom Taylor is able to do it with DCeased. I mean, if you look at it, we not only get like these really great elements of John Constantine, but it's also blended together with the whole Justice League aspect of, you know, John, Damian, and Cassie coming back after 5 years and kind of bringing back hope. And as Dr. Fate brought up, well, now they brought the science, we have the magic, there's hope now.
Yeah.
It baffles me that Tom Taylor doesn't get more leeway to write really epic DC stories.
Well, I think
because
that's
he knows how to mix these elements together and make it work.
Well, in a lot of ways, isn't he like someone to envy kind of within the comic book circles right now if you're a writer, because he's given these projects that allow him to have a lot of mobility in terms of being creative. He has
That's true,
he has
yeah.
freedom because he's given projects like was it Injustice?
Yes.
Right? Is that what it was?
He was given Injustice and knocked it out of the park.
And then of course Dead Planet last year, and DCeased last year, and now Dead Planet here as the sequel in 2020. He's being given projects where he doesn't really need to adhere to typical continuity. He can have complete fun and stretch his legs and do whatever he wants. And honestly, if I were writing comic books in this day and age when everything's been done and you have to adhere so closely to whatever Snyder is doing, because typically it seems like over the last 3-4 years, whatever Scott Snyder's doing on the Batman front kind of dictates the world.
Yes.
Which I'm okay with that, but I also feel, in my own personal opinion, when you're building this world up all surrounding elements of pertaining to metal, you're eventually going to write yourself into a corner.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to adhere to those elements, those world-changing elements, you have a series like this that you can have some fun with it and not have to worry about anything else. So he may not be getting all the, I don't know, bigger titles, I guess you're saying, right, Dave?
Yeah.
But he is getting titles that I'm sure he wants to do.
Well, dude,
because he's making these titles a huge success.
Absolutely. Because like if you look at like basically a short span of his writing credentials right now, he has titles like Justice League versus Power Rangers, which is actually secretly really good. And not a lot of people talk about it because it's too far left, but because it's Tom Taylor, he knows how to make it work. You have some of his Star Wars stuff that he's brought up, Invasion, he brought up Blood Ties. Again, titles that basically allow him that creative freedom to do whatever he wants. And it just amazes me that if any of the big two, because he's worked with Marvel, would just basically say, okay, we've seen your credentials, we've seen what you can do if we just unleash you and say, do whatever you want. Give him the Scott Snyder treatment. I mean, DC basically lets Scott Snyder write whatever he wants, right? Like with what you said with DC Metal and all the Batman stuff that he's done. Could you imagine if they basically say Tom Taylor, do whatever you want with a character, say like Superman. Tom Taylor and Superman would be really interesting, and he would make that character. I'd have to say, I'd be really intrigued where he would go with it. And I think if you give a creative mind like that, like Tom Taylor, and give him a character, you will see similar magic with what Snyder did with Batman the past 5 years.
And honestly, as long as he is selling issues, he can pretty much write his own check, because
exactly.
I mean, they just ordered new printings, which in this day and age of comics, when they're canceling literally everything, but as of August 16th, they're ordering new printings for DCeased, Dead Planet #1 and #2.
Yeah.
That's what you want. When you're DC and you are in a state of confuckery and you're not sure what to do next because of declining sales and because of coronavirus, not to mention the distribution conundrum that also happened a few months back because of coronavirus, you're going to be looking for these artists, these writers that sell. And right now, it seems like it's Scott Snyder and Tom Taylor.
Those are the two big names.
What other title right now is offering new printings? They're canceling right now, Dave.
Yeah.
They're not setting up new printings of already released comics. They're canceling things by the truckloads. So if they're in the middle of canceling titles and yet they are ordering new printings of DCeased, Dead Planet 1 and 2, that should tell you right there that this thing is just flying off the shelves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, me and you have gushed over, like, all the elements that have made DCeased awesome. Down from not just the writing of Tom Taylor, but the art of, I forgot what the artist's name for DCeased right now. But the cover art. Me and you have gushed over like what they've done creatively with the cover art for DCeased. This series, dude, is something that I've been telling people since the get-go, since the beginning. Pick it up. It's worth it.
Well, and if you missed it, now is your chance. As of as of August 16th, they are saying that Dead Planet will have a resale day of September 15th is when it will be released in stores, and you'll be able to get Dead Planet #1 and #2 featuring all new covers, Dave. Of course, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, you can't release the same old issue 1 and 2.
Great. Like what could they possibly release cover wise now? That's
They're
gonna make us
doing
do it again.
Now, if it was a Constantine cover or a Shadow Pack cover, yes, I would.
Dude, if they do a Shadow Pack cover,
I would be that lame. I would be that lame-o and go to the store. But it looks like here, issue #1's reprint will have Poison Ivy, and then issue 2 will be the same standard cover but black and white.
I'm thinking that they're going to do something special with 2.
Well, come on, let's get some Constantine. Come on now.
Come on now.
You want my dollars. If you want my hard-earned dollars. Shit, dude, I'm such a loser. Like, if they were to put out 10 new covers for DCeased #2, I'd buy all of them. If it featured members of the Shadow Pack. If it had Zatanna, Swamp Thing, John Constantine, of course.
Well, if I'm not correct, I mean, you mentioned it, and I actually double-checked it to make sure. But one of the future covers has Swamp Thing on it.
Oh, yeah, I already ordered it. Pre-ordered, Dave.
That's pre-ordered. We're making sure.
I'm not going to lose out like last time. Fuck that, dude. I learned my lesson, man. I'm not going to spend $35 either on a cover. I won't. I'm going to pre-order that son of a bitch.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Dude, I don't blame you. I go into the stores every release day, and there isn't even a copy of DCeased on the table.
No, because it's always sold out.
Yeah, dude, and I go within an hour. I'm like, where the fuck is DCeased? I fucking go outside, kick rocks, and
there's like a bunch of people already lined up, and they've already taken all the issues. Yeah, like, sorry.
What's wrong, Mike? No, DCeased, Dead Planet. No. Oh, should have pre-ordered, bro.
That's the thing. Is like people will
look at me. I have 7. Bro. I have 7 covers right here, Mike. I pre-ordered 7. You fucking asshole.
If they just walk out, just walk past you.
I'm gonna cough on them. Like, you don't know where I've been. You now got corona.
But I know for a fact, one of the future covers that they're talking about is a Zatanna cover, which I have to get.
I'm surprised we haven't. Well, issue 3 has John Constantine and Zatanna on it, which is released, I believe, the first week in September. So,
Yes.
and that's pre-ordered. That should be right in my little mailbox, at least within 2 days. Unfortunately, we have this whole USPS issue fiasco going on, so it's slowing up deliveries. I'm like, listen, fucking America, like, never mind the letter from my grandma that can't get to me on time. I need my fucking comics.
Exactly. That's what. It's so sad, dude. It's like one of the joys in my life now is just seeing people scramble for comics now because it's so hard to get. And it's like,
Dave,
this is what you get. This is what you get. You should have pre-ordered.
Don't be a pre-order douche. No joke though. I'm like watching the news the other day, and they're talking about issues with the post office and because of politics and how mail has now slowed down to an all-time low.
Yep.
And I'm like, the first thing was like, I better fucking get my comic books on time. John Constantine, I got things to read.
I'm gonna cut a bitch if this
I'm like, which
doesn't
presidential campaign will help the post office, or which presidential candidate? Because I'll be a what's it called when you vote for someone based on one issue, a one issue voter.
And one,
yeah.
yeah.
Who's gonna fix the post office? You? Okay, you got my vote.
You got my vote. Yeah, congratulations. And the other one that basically says they want to stop the post office. No. No. You take a seat. Take a seat.
Raise taxes. You're gonna raise taxes and destroy America, but I'm gonna get my comic books. Okay. All right.
You got my vote.
As long as John Constantine's in my mailbox on the day of delivery, on the day of release. All right, let's get to our final thoughts, Dave, and our RMD score. Why don't you start us off?
Okay. Well, I'm going to get my score out of the way because people should know now. I love DCeased. If I could, I'd give it 100. But in all honesty, number 2 was, I think it was better than the first issue because how well paced it was and bookend, and how Taylor was able to really make sure that there's certain elements that just hit right on target every single time in this particular issue. So grade-wise, I'm giving this a 92.
Wow, Dave.
Because it's a fun read, dude. It's a really fun read. It's reignited my love for the zombie genre, which is amazing.
I have a love-hate relationship with the zombie genre, I'll be honest with you.
Before DCeased, I was burnt out on it.
Yeah,
thanks
me too.
to titles like Walking Dead and Marvel Zombies, because people made zombies boring. Tom Taylor's made it really interesting by showing that basically there's more to zombies than just going around and eating people's brains.
There is? Well, it used to be. I mean, zombie films used to be social commentary.
But he adds that social commentary element that's been missing.
Yeah.
From a lot of, I love Robert Kirkman as a writer, but his run on Walking Dead is probably going to go down as one of the most historic comics of all time. However, he went so freaking long getting to the point in his story that it literally bored me toward the end. It was like, I understood where you're going, and it took you over 100 issues to get to this point. And it burnt me out. It burnt me out on zombie comics. DCeased brought me back because it showed the actual potential that you can possibly do with a concept like this. So also some other elements that we didn't cover that I really liked. I love the interaction between Jason and Damian. That was awesome. That got me in the feels. They're the last of the Wayne sons.
Yeah, fuck them though. This is a house of mystery.
This is a house of mystery.
I'm
I know.
just joking.
But the Constantine stuff was just knocked out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Him and Swamp Thing is just freaking awesome.
Do you think possibly there's a way for us to get a cyborg head for the studio?
Oh, dude.
I mean, I think Cyborg's head belongs in the House of Mystery.
This is one of my favorite iterations of Cyborg.
I was laughing my ass off, man. I honestly think Tom Taylor does things to characters he doesn't like.
Yes.
Like, hey, fuck Cyborg. I'm going to make him a talking head.
Talking head.
Take that, Cyborg.
And you're the reason this happened, you dick.
Laughing so hard, dude, when he's being carried by Hot Girl.
Yes.
And he's just ahead.
And he's just ahead.
It's amazing.
And he basically, the whole thing, like, I love the play between him and Harley, like what you pointed out earlier. That made me laugh. Because, which pieces do you know is it in? Because
it's in my penis.
You're kind of in different places.
The cure's in my penis, Harley. Why don't you get it? Oh, you want to make jokes? I'll make jokes too.
So overall,
you can suck out the cure.
But overall,
that's inappropriate.
I
David.
really do think that people should be picking up DCeased. Everyone should go back and pick up everything that is DCeased, because
wow, look at you. Everything that's DCeased.
The world that Tom Taylor's created, it's almost, for me, a shame that this is considered like an Elseworlds title. It really is. Because he's really taken the DC universe and taken it places.
Let him make the Taylorverse. That's fine.
The Taylorverse?
I'm okay with that. If he wants to make his own universe, as long as we get continuations, it would be nice to revisit these in years to come. So once he's done, hopefully it's not like, all right, open and shut, we're done, never going back to it, like what is in fact the case with many Elseworld type titles.
Yeah.
Many times we never return. I hope that whatever happens with this and it ends up, if it all pans out well, then yeah, why not return? Leave it an open-ended universe.
And then the thing that actually I realized in this issue, the final thing that I just realized because I put it down in my notes, he's not the only one that is writing DCeased. There's actually people like, he's getting other creative writers like Tanyan. Apparently Tanyan's actually writing a part of DCeased.
When?
I have no idea.
Well,
it's in the credits.
Now, if people aren't aware of who he is one of the writers. No, he is the writer of the first 25 issues of Justice League Dark.
Yeah,
that's currently running. He's pretty good.
He's credited in the DCeased wiki as in basically being tied to the second
Interesting
series.
Well, maybe on our third discussion we'll get into the intricacies of what he's connected to, because I don't know. I'm not prepared for that.
I mean, we know that the Shadow Pack is dead. So
no,
if they
David.
needed another group to come in, bring in Justice League Dark.
No,
There's still characters from that group.
Shadow Pack, Dave. Shadow Pack. We already have Justice League Dark.
You just don't want me to curse all the other characters, Dave, and they all die.
This is what I want for issue 3. Okay, I want the Shadow Pack to recruit a new member, Cyborg's head.
That would be awesome.
Dude,
you're useless anyhow.
It would be the best iteration of Cyborg we have ever been given. Imagine if he just stays ahead.
Oh, dude.
And John Constantine carries him around in a fucking bag. Dude. Or he wears him around he has like a
necklace.
Chain. Yeah.
Like a necklace.
It sounds stupid, but it works in this world.
It'd be so funny.
They have him in like a little cage.
Oh, that'd be so bad.
That would be that would be amazing.
I have to agree, though. That imagery of John carrying Cyborg's head would be cool.
We have to have a scene where he has an entire conversation with Cyborg's head. Please give it to us, Tom Taylor. Please give it to us. I'll buy 10 issues.
Well, you know that it has to at least lead up to a scene like that, because Cyborg has the cure. And they've already said they've already
Tom Taylor's listening to this. He's all right, let me see. Cyborg's head in a cage, carried by John. Oh, the cure in Cyborg's dick. I like that.
I like that.
Harley sucks out the cure. Okay, I'm writing this down. This is good shit.
And we know that just after the past series and how this series opens up, Constantine plays an important role in bringing that magic element to cure the anti-life.
Yeah. All right, so your final grade was what?
A 92. I really do love this series, dude.
92,
really
wow. Okay, now you know me, it's always about subtext and story.
Yeah.
I don't know how to have just a fun time, Dave. I just don't. I mean, I believe my ex-wife said that once. Mike, just have a fun time. Just have fun. Like, no!
I have to look into this.
What is it saying? What's the importance of it? Is it going to be earth-shattering? Is it going to change the world? This is fun. It's funny. It's clever. And there is a form of smarts to Tom Taylor's writing. Absolutely. I will give this an 85%. I'm looking for more of that meaningful aspects that we got from the first issue. I want to see what he has to say about John. And listen, we had a lot of that in the first issue, and I'm willing to wait. So I'm not marking up points. I'm saying this is a nice little bridge to get us to the next level in terms of fleshing out this world's version of John Constantine. Right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
That's a fair grade, right? 85%?
85% is when you...
It's a fair grade.
It's a fair grade because, like, I'm approaching it as I'm a total fan of this series.
I know.
So if I were to take that out, I definitely get what you're saying about basically putting this in the 80 to 90 range.
Well, because as we said in our first discussion with issue 1, what he did with John within those opening pages was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And if you put it, that's why the next issue has me really interested, because now John has gone through 2 great losses. He lost that first team with Barda, Mr. Miracle, and all them. Now he's lost the Shadow Pack. And on top of that, he's lost the one person that he truly does care about, which is Atana.
Right. We'll see.
We'll see what Tom Taylor does with this.
Maybe he will have to suck out the poison or suck out the cure.
Suck out the cure.
Come here, cyborgs. Atana is infected. I'm willing to suck out the cure.
Would
Come
you
here.
be willing to suck out?
Well, the cure's in my cock. Did anyone tell you yet, John? No, but let me see that little wanker.
Let's see that.
Well, if you haven't noticed, I'm a black guy, so it's not little, John. It's a mouthful, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Enjoy that cure right to the back of your throat.
Cyborg's revenge.
All right, we better end this show before we continue to fall apart. All right, I want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you, David.
Thank you.